Navy base.
Signworks, a business serving businesses since 1985. Everything from signs and banners, vehicles and boats, magnetic and real estate signs, contractor signs, and much more. Signworks can do large format, full color printing too. Signworks, a real professional in the business world. Call Signworks at 785-8899. Signworks, 850-785-8899.
As a realtor, it's important who you choose as your title company. May we suggest South Oak Title? Their offices are modern, comfortable, and state-of-the-art. South Oak Title can close transactions in any location in Florida, Alabama, and Tennessee. Their free mobile app allows realtors to deliver a net sheet in seconds. They provide mobile closing services to accommodate buyers and sellers. Their offices are beautifully decorated, state-of-the-art, complete, safe, and secure. South Oak Title, creating a better title and closing experience through technology and tailored service. Visit them online at southoaktitle.com.
Visit the newly remodeled Mid-South Lumber Hardware and Feed Store in Youngstown. They have a full line of plumbing, electrical, hardware, and tools for your DIY home projects, as well as lumber and animal feed. Now offering not only baby chicks and a full line of poultry supplies, but also bunnies and parakeets. They also carry a wide selection of Duplin wines and gourmet products, so you don't have to drive to the beach. Come see us at Mid-South Lumber on Highway 231 in Youngstown.
Well, it's that time of the year again, folks. Yep, Christmas is right around the corner. And to avoid the stress and rush, Tracy's Fine Jewelry is starting our Christmas sale early. That's right, all color gemstone jewelry is on sale now for 60% off. Rubies, emeralds, sapphires, tanzanites, opals, and more. Mark it off your list and lay away now. At Tracy's Fine Jewelry, we love to save you time and money. So avoid the rush and come see us at Tracy's Fine Jewelry, where Santa shops.
PLQ Port St. Joe, WGSX Haven. Powered by Panama City Toyota.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Pushed away and intercepted. Ball game. The fairy tale continues.
The Afternoon Underdogs are on the air.
And the breakthrough for the U.S.
4.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
And welcome into the Afternoon Underdogs here on ESPN Northwest Florida 104.3. Of course, we're also on 101.9 over there on the Forgotten Coast for our friends down in Port St. Joe. And those guys have a big football playoff game this weekend or on Friday. So looking forward to that. You can also catch our show here on YouTube and Facebook and all kind of different ways. And don't forget about the ESPN Northwest Florida app. Make sure you get signed up for that. Reminder that ESPN Northwest Florida is your home not only for Auburn Tiger football, but also for Auburn Tiger basketball. We're going to have a lot of great games coming up. Bruce Pearl and the crew, when they're not getting the flights, sat down for fighting on the plane, they play pretty well. So looking forward to that. And then the football team has a big battle with Texas A&M this weekend that is going to be really important for Auburn's slim chances of trying to hold on to a bowl game, and certainly for Texas A&M's outside shot at maybe making the playoffs here. So a lot of big things going on that you can catch right here on ESPN Northwest Florida. I am Brian Haddad sitting in for David Hayes, who's not with us today. And just keep David and his family in your thoughts and prayers. A lot going on, and we hope to have David back soon, but for right now you get the substitute teacher, so don't cause as much trouble as you normally would with that. But I would love to hear from you, particularly your best and worst of the weekend, which we do every Monday. If you would like to give us a call, we'd love to have you here at 850-215-6290. That is 215-6290. While we're waiting on that, let's get to some headlines from around the sports world here on this Monday, November the 18th. And right there at the top, the New York Football Giants have decided that Daniel Jones is not even going to be their backup quarterback for the rest of the year, but they have put him all the way down to QB3, effectively ending the experiment, if you will, when they gave him a huge contract a couple years ago, coming off of his best season in 2022. But the more interesting thing was that they decided to keep Drew Lock at QB2, and Tommy DeVito will once again be elevated to the starter. He played a few games last year, and certainly a fan favorite in New York with a name like Tommy DeVito, but he will be taking the reins here, as we all expect, I think, for the Giants to kind of reshuffle their plans at quarterback. And, they're right in the mix there for that number 1 pick. So I would expect that they're going to be looking for a quarterback in the draft, and most likely Daniel Jones will be available for another team to perhaps give it a shot. And it's kind of a shame. He showed a lot of promise a couple of years ago, and to the point that they kind of went all in on Jones and let Saquon Barkley get away, and we see what he's doing with Caveman's Philadelphia Eagles there. He's got a new lease on life this year, and just playing lights out, hurdling over people backwards, and it's amazing. But Daniel Jones set to be QB3 now, and Tommy DeVito will take the start, at least for this weekend. We'll see if that holds up for the rest of the year. Baltimore Ravens say they have not lost any confidence in Justin Tucker. Tucker, one of the all-time great kickers, I think very likely a Hall of Famer, but has struggled this year uncharacteristically and missed a couple of field goals this weekend in a game that was a little bit sloppy if you like good offensive football, but it was AFC North football. It was hard hitting and good defense, and Pittsburgh Steelers were able to pull it out in the end, 18-16. But don't expect Justin Tucker to be going anywhere yet. But that has been, as someone who has him on one of my fantasy football teams, certainly a head-scratcher this year as to, someone who's been one of the most reliable kickers in NFL history seems to be struggling fairly mightily to put it between the uprights. Had a huge weekend in college football. Starting to reshuffle I'm not a huge fan of, the playoff bracket, or, well, not brackets, but the top 12 listing, if you will, being out so early. But it does make it exciting as things reshuffle. So, first half of the season was kind of ho-hum, but the second half is filled with, a lot of chaos, a lot of reshuffling of the board, a lot of elimination games. And the more people lose, there might be more games that, you thought a team was eliminated, they may still be in it. But most notably, number 6 BYU and number 7 Tennessee lost this weekend, so they fell down or are going to fall down the board. We'll get the new rankings tomorrow. But BYU, I believe, still in place to make it to the Big 12 championship game. So they're not out of it by any stretch of the imagination. But it does further open the door for Colorado, who is surging and had a big victory this year. So everybody kind of getting ready for the possibility of Coach Prime in the playoffs. It should certainly add to a lot of shows like this one, and we'll certainly get some phone calls. Over in the SEC, again, the big battle was Georgia, versus Tennessee, and Georgia took care of business. Once again, slow start for the Bulldogs. Came out, they were down 10-0. And then from there proceeded to go on and win 31-7. They ended up, overall winning 31-17. Tennessee played hard, but Georgia just had too much for them. Nico was running for his life on, not being 100% and, a few mistakes. But Georgia's starting to look a little bit better after a couple of weeks of very ho-hum football out of them. If I were a Bulldog fan, I would still be a little bit concerned at the fact that they seem to be very slow getting out of the gates. I don't know if that's preparation. I don't know if that's Mike Bobo being too conservative on the offensive side, but they seem to make adjustments better than just about anybody in the country. And they're a great second-half team. And if they don't dig themselves too big a hole or fumble it 87 times like they did in Oxford, they seem to be a team that nobody wants to face. And right now would ostensibly be sitting in position to make the playoff. The more interesting thing as it relates to the SEC particularly is I think at this point, the way things are shuffling out, I think we would have to expect the Big Ten and the SEC to be looking at potentially 4 teams each, maybe one with 5, one with 3. But the way that the schedule is played out, so many SEC teams are on 2 losses. we're actually have the potential for a scenario where one of the teams in the SEC championship game, if not both, but one of them certainly, will have 2 losses. And in that case, there will be maybe 2, 3, 4 additional teams with 2 losses sitting outside of the championship game. So the question becomes, if that team loses in the SEC championship game in a tight battle to, say, Texas or whoever, do they fall below all the teams who did not have to play the extra game? And it's going to bring up the importance and the viability of those conference championship games going forward. So we've got a lot of football left to be played, a couple of weeks left here, and then rivalry weekend. So there's a lot left to happen, but this is certainly something a lot of college football fans are keeping their eye on as it relates to the college football playoff. Jake Paul defeated Mike Tyson in what was called a boxing match. Here's the thing. I was very hopeful. I think like most of the country, I think we all wanted, Tyson to be the Tyson of, 1986 and knock Jake Paul into the, third row, and we could all celebrate that the YouTuber got his comeuppance and conveniently forgot that Jake Paul is 32 years younger than Mike Tyson, is taller than Mike Tyson with a longer reach, and is a competent boxer. He is not by any means a great professional fighter, but he is a competent professional boxer, and he can get in there with good fighters. Now, the best of the best, the top 10 in their weight class, in the world? No, he's not going to challenge those guys. But guys like Tyson, who are a little bit older, or, guys who have been maybe a little bit more journeyman, who are great fighters. I mean, we always say, oh, these guys stink. No, they're still amongst, the 40 or 50 best in the world. But, obviously it's not him, lacing him up with, Deontay Wilder or, anybody like that. He would have to go up several weight classes, I think, for that. But it was interesting. For those of you who actually were able to watch it on Netflix, there were 2 reasons why you may not have. Mine was I used my brother's account, and so did about 80 other people. So I got in late and I couldn't get on, which was fine. It was okay. I watched some of the undercard. And then I dumped out to do some work, and by the time I came back, other people had taken my spot. But more people seem to have an issue with overload and buffering. And, there were people who figured out workarounds, but it was certainly problematic for Netflix, who wants to get into the live events game. They're about to take over WWE Raw, which is not going to turn any kind of number like this was, but it certainly is problematic for Netflix and something they want to get fixed going forward, because according to their early numbers, about 60 million households tuned in to this fight, making it one of the most watched fights in years and years and years. It was also one of the most bet fights in years and years and years. And from all intents and purposes, was a great weekend for the casinos. They had a lot of people in, a lot of people betting on the apps. BetMGM said it was the highest gate they had taken in their 7 years of existence in combat sports. So that's boxing and MMA. The word was that Tyson was getting probably twice as many of the bets, but the big bets were in on Jake Paul. So I think the biggest bet recorded was a $1 million bet on Jake Paul at minus 290. So wouldn't win $1 million, but certainly would do, very well for their risk there. But I think a lot of people were, if I'd have voted or if I'd have bet, I would have bet on Tyson too, betting with my heart and not my head. So that's why the smart money always, makes money. It was on the eventual winner. So Jake Paul taking the decision, just kind of boring to me looking back at the highlights. It didn't seem like, guys wanted to go out there and either showcase masterful boxing or kill each other. I don't think it was fixed.
You don't think it was rigged?
I don't. It looked like a guy who was a little old and just couldn't keep up. Paul was able to keep him back with that reach. And then as Tyson tired, he did it. But it just wasn't exciting. I'll tell you what fight was exciting. And this was when I was on watching, is the undercard, the women's match with Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor. I believe I've got those names right. Yeah, Katie Taylor. Serrano went up 3 weight classes to do this, and they had an epic fight 2 years ago. I'm not sure this one wasn't better. What you had in this fight was absolute nonstop action. This was, and the 2-minute rounds lend itself to that, because it's more frenetic and you got to get moving. And these ladies just slugged it out, for the distance. And Serrano got opened up with a nasty cut that I was I was very surprised they didn't stop the fight.
They almost did, yeah.
But I mean, Serrano seemed fine. It just, you were just worried about the amount of blood. And I mean, it was almost like it was kind of flopping there. It was right over the eyelid. But Serrano, to me, and to a lot of people, won the fight. And unfortunately, that's not the way the judges saw it. They all had Katie Taylor with a 1-point unanimous victory, and it's caused a lot of controversy. But if you ask me, it sets up a gorgeous third fight between them, because there were a lot of people who probably watched that who've never watched women's boxing or these two box. And to me, it was the fight of the night. So that one was fun. A little gory, and I didn't agree with the decision, but certainly was a heck of a boxing match these two ladies put on. So it was fun. Obviously, one of the most watched boxing events. I was a little worried it would end up the way it did. It would have been great if that kind of, I could have handled Tyson falling apart late if I had gotten just an old school 2-minute first round rush. And if he had just caught one of those uppercuts and just dizzied Paul, I mean, you would have heard the roof blow off of the place. But wasn't to be. But Mike Tyson, interestingly, said he may not be done. So, it was interesting. Look, he comported himself fine. He's just old. And he doesn't have the legs at 58 that you need to take on, even a maybe slightly above average guy in their 20s. So,
what were some of the rules in this fight? Did Mike have to make the fight go at least 4 rounds or something for his payday?
I don't know all of that, because I never know what's real anymore on the internet. I will say that the gloves were bigger. And in that respect, and it was 2-minute rounds for them as well. I think the 2-minute rounds helped Tyson. The bigger gloves, I think, hurt him, because the impact of those punches he can land are softer. And, if Mike is, if those gloves are a little bit less and he catches one shot, I don't think Jake Paul's ever been hit the way Mike Tyson, even at 58, can hit somebody. So I think that one probably helped play into it. But, I don't know, because I'm always afraid of, what's out there. And, people, I heard that he had to stand him up for 5 rounds or this, that, or the other. And I don't know. I'm willing to bet both of them made quite a little bit of money on this one. And good for both of them, honestly, because, they, had a little delay. This was supposed to happen a while back, but we're able to get it over the finish line, and it certainly brought a lot of people out. Now, the question, will those people stay boxing fans or not, or was this a driving by the car crash and checking it out? That remains to be seen. I do think a few fans will be brought in by some of the undercard matches and might pay a little more attention here and there, but overall, I don't think we're going to see $60 million at the next, boxing match. But it was certainly interesting there, and was a great one, as far as just putting the event together. And then I could say, look, we want your best and worst of the weekend. Make sure you give us a call here at 215-6290. But the best news I got might be this, is that Inside the NBA is going to be staying around. It will be moving to ABC ESPN when they acquire the licensing rights for NBA games in the 25-26 season. But it'll actually still be produced by TNT Studios, except when they're on the road. So that was a great thing that was able to be worked out to where TNT could keep the production of that show. Obviously, that's great for the show as well, because it's all the same people who are aware of each other. But it will be broadcast on ESPN and ABC for their coverage of the games. And so that was a big thing, because it's one of the, if you've never watched it, if nothing else, go to YouTube and watch some of the clips. Charles Barkley and Shaquille O'Neal going at each other is some of the funniest stuff you will ever hear in your life. Ernie Johnson is the perfect host, straight man, to somewhat rein in, the craziness. And Kenny Smith is kind of the little intellectual in the corner, and he can stir it up with them too. But the interplay between the four is like nothing else on television. It honestly is some of the best comedy. It's great insight because those guys obviously did it at an extremely high level. But the comedy in that show is like nothing else. So I, for one, am thrilled that show will be staying around. I think it's critical. I think it's big for the NBA because I think there are a lot of people who come in, to games strictly because, they want to, at the end of it, go over and see what Chuck and Shaq are going to do to each other. And so it's really good news there that they're going to be sticking around and with the comfortable cast and production crew that they already know.
Shaquille O'Neal needs more airtime. You don't have enough of him on TV.
Yeah, he needs more sponsors too, good gracious. But those two, I'm telling you, they just watch clips. You'll laugh for, hours and hours. You'll go down the YouTube rabbit hole, I can guarantee you, because I've done so as well. But again, those are some of the headlines out there. Brian Haddad sitting in for David Hayes today on the Afternoon Underdogs. Would love to hear from you today, just kind of winging it through. When we come back, we're going to actually get into some baseball here in November because we have the list of first-time eligible Hall of Fame nominees, and we're going to talk the MLB Awards Week that kicks off today. That's coming up next on the Afternoon Underdogs, ESPN Northwest Florida.
It's the PCB Hobby Takeover with Todd. Mondays at 5:20 on ESPN Northwest Florida.
That is a very high-end card and very rare.
Todd talks about coins, trading cards, collectibles, and the amazing stories behind them.
It was the first one that's ever come through my door.
Plus, we'll be taking your calls and questions at 850-215-6290. The PCB Hobby Takeover.
A platform for you to do your hobby.
Mondays at 5:20 on the Sports Talk Monster. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna on ESPN Northwest Florida with your weather forecast on this Monday. Partly cloudy the remainder of the day with a moderate breeze at 13 miles per hour coming out of the southeast and temps near 78. Tonight we will have some clouds and be hot at 70. Raining moderately tomorrow and a high 78. A small chance of rain in the early morning followed by some sun Wednesday with a temp of 76. This forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Los Rancheros has been doing it right for 20 years. Los Rancheros brings a top-shelf dining experience to you with the opening of their beautiful new building. Watch all college and pro games on Los Rancheros' 14 large-screen TVs with great drink specials daily from 2 to 5 and during all the games. Los Rancheros, the place for live sports and great food on 23rd Street between Jenks and Harrison.
Hello, this is Rick Vossen with RV of Panama City, your local Stormore portable building dealer, located at 2241 East Baldwin Road. Shopping for a garage, portable building, cabin? We build them anywhere from 8 to 16 foot wide, 10 feet to 60 feet long. We can do insulation, electricity, transom dormers, thermal windows. Come, let's customize a building together. Rick Vossen, Stormore Portable Building Dealer, Panama City.
From the Auburn Sports Network, Alpha Insurance presents Auburn Sports Today. Here's Brad Law.
Here's what Hugh Freeze said to Jeff Shearer on the Regions Bank postgame show Saturday following the win over ULM.
Proud of our staff and kids. I thought it was a complete effort and pretty good execution most of the day.
Speaking of that good execution, penalty-free football, that's a rarity in college football. To have that discipline and not have a single penalty today, how important was that?
Yeah, I don't know. I think we're pretty good. We're ranked highly in one of the least penalized teams in the league, but I don't know in my 33 years of coaching if I can't remember ever having a penalty-free game. So that's pretty remarkable for sure. So that's a good sign.
Played some tempo early on. Cam Coleman just a remarkable day, highlighted by that one-handed catch. Your view of Cam and Peyton today with 5 touchdown passes.
Yeah, I think anytime we can get into a tempo and get our receivers involved, we know we've been pretty successful running the ball, but anytime we can get in tempo and get our receivers and quarterback kind of in sync, we have looked better. Made up my mind in the open week that's what we were going to do, and I thought we looked pretty good at that, and I thought it got those receivers involved earlier and gave them more confidence.
You'll hear more from the head coach tonight on Tiger Talk. I'll be live at Baumhauer's Victory Grill from 6 to 7 with Coach Freeze and volleyball coach Brent Crouch. And then we also have men's basketball tonight against North Alabama. Andy Burcham, Randall Dickey, Jacob Hillman have the coverage starting at 7:30 from Neville Arena with tip-off just after 8 Central. Until tomorrow, I'm Brad Law for Auburn Sports Today.
Who was hired? Who was fired? Trades, drafts, and playoffs. We're talking about it.
That trade, when it was made, was the right trade.
Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs right here on ESPN Northwest Florida.
And welcome back into ESPN Northwest Florida. You're listening to the Afternoon Underdogs. Brian Haddad sitting in for David Hayes today, and Big Bad Bone Crusher on the ones and twos. Hey. Again, would love to hear your best and worst of the weekend. We do that every Monday. Feel free to give us a call to the studio here at 850-215-6290. Would love to talk with you. ESPN Northwest Florida, again, is your home for Auburn Tiger football and basketball. And then don't forget, we also are your radio home for the Mosley Dolphins. Unfortunately, season came to an end and just a crazy last sequence there. Mosley coming up just literally a yard or two short from tying the game on Friday night, but went down to Fleming Island. We're going to talk a lot about the high school playoffs in our final segment at 5:40. But listen, what Mosley and, quite frankly, a ton of, teams across the area did in getting into the playoffs, was a phenomenal season. And it's always hard because almost everybody's going to end their season on a loss. And, it's kind of a bitter pill because you want to keep playing. But that being said, it should absolutely not take away from what everybody has worked so hard to do this year. And certainly has been fun listening to David and Kyle and Robert and everybody with the games, and then, being able to do the high school kickoff show this year with Andy and then with Banji has been an absolute blast. And it was an exciting year for high school football in our area. It's not over yet. We have a couple teams still alive, but those we'll get to those at 5:40. And ESPN Northwest Florida is also your spot for select Orlando Magic basketball games this year in the NBA. So, man, we've just got everything going on here. So.
Love it. We're working on a package to send some listeners to see the Magic in Orlando.
Going to Mickey Town. There we go. I like it. Well, very, very cool. Well, let's talk some baseball. I mean, we are your home for the Atlanta Braves. Take two. We are your home for the Atlanta Braves.
We're live.
Yeah, exactly. But no Braves playing. Of course, nobody playing right now. It's November, but it is award season, and we also have the list of first-time eligible Hall of Fame nominees. So let me start with the awards. I want to go down these. I'll kind of give you my thoughts on those. So on Monday, today, we're going to have the Jackie Robinson Rookie of the Year Awards. Now, these are some of the most hotly battled awards out there. I'll go through the nominees here in just a moment. And then Tuesday, another hotly battled one will be the Managers of the Year will be announced in both leagues. Wednesday, the Cy Youngs, a little more cut and dry, certainly on the AL side, I think. And then the MVPs are, I don't think there's any doubt who the MVPs are going to be. I hate that they're last because, I like the, wondering about where it's actually going to go. And listen, it would make massive news if either Shohei Ohtani or Aaron Judge did not win their respective MVPs. Of course, Ohtani going to be the second player, I believe, in Major League history, joining Frank Robinson to win the MVP in both leagues. So a lot going on there that we'll get to. But let's start with today's award here, and the Rookie of the Year award I'm trying to get to it. I apologize. They list them like that by day, and then they have them backwards. Here we go. So the 3 finalists in the American League are going to be Colton Cowser for the Baltimore Orioles, and then a pair of New York Yankees. Luis Gil, the pitcher, who actually was brought up briefly in 2021, but by the rules is still considered a rookie this year. And then Austin Wells, who was very good down the stretch in the playoffs and into the World Series. ESPN had their Baseball Insiders vote. They had 9 of them, and their pick was Luis Gil. So that one will be interesting with the pitcher taking it. He was very good this year. I was a little particular to Austin Wells, but it's probably some recency bias. Colton Cowser, nothing to glance over either. He had a wonderful season for a very good young team in the Baltimore Orioles, who had last year's Rookie of the Year, Gunnar Henderson there. So I do think this will probably be Luis Gil. If I had a vote, I'd probably go with Austin Wells, but they've yet to give me a vote. Over on the National League side, there is a lot of firepower here. Your 3 finalists are Paul Skeens, who had just an amazing rookie season with the Pirates. Jackson Chourio, who's the youngest player in Major League Baseball now for the Brewers and lit it up once he came up. And then Jackson Merrill for the Padres, who had to play a new position and just happened to go out there and put up, let's see, he was 292 with 24 homers and 90 RBIs. Like I said, he was developed as a shortstop, but ended up playing as a center fielder because that's where the Padres needed him. So this one's tough. I don't think Chourio's in it. I think this is a battle between Skeens and Merrill. I think the fact that Skeens is up for the Cy Young probably gives him the edge. And let's face it, he's a bigger name. And whether that's, just for what he did or, the dating Livy Dunn, which a lot of people consider him an MVP just for that, So, but I think ESPN had Paul Skeens taking 8 votes and Jackson Merrill getting 1. I think it'll actually be closer than that. I agree. I think Skeens will get it. I would probably vote for Merrill. I thought he was outstanding in what they did, particularly with the Padres having such a great second half of the year run. Manager of the Year, AL. Let's go to A.J. Hinch for the Detroit Tigers, who were fantastic this year in making their run into the playoffs. Matt Quatraro for the Royals. Oh, my goodness. They were supposed to be probably one of the 2 or 3 worst teams in baseball, and they made a playoff run. And then Stephen Vogt for the Guardians, who had a great year. They were supposed to be pretty good, but had an excellent year there. This one is probably the tightest one on ESPN's voting, but they went with Quatraro from the Royals, and I would have to agree with that. They had him with 5 votes, A.J. Hinch with 3. I'm sure Michigan Eddie would vote for Hinch. And look, I don't think you could go wrong with either of those 2. I wouldn't go with Vogt. I think he was good, but I think what Hinch and Quatraro did were just phenomenal with 2 teams that really weren't supposed to be that good. So that's what I think will happen there is I do think Quatraro will win it, but it'll be tight. Over in the National League, you got Carlos Mendoza for the Mets, who, ended up making the playoffs there on the last day with a win over the Braves. Pat Murphy for the Brewers, who did a wonderful job after they lost their manager in the offseason. And then Mike Schilt for the Padres, who I don't think is going to get enough credit for the fact that I'm pretty sure they had the best record in baseball from the All-Star break into the playoffs. ESPN has Murphy winning this one with 6 votes and Mendoza with 3. I agree. I think Murphy will probably carry it because there was not a lot of expectation on the Brewers, and they significantly overperformed. I do think Mendoza's got a chance with what he did with the Mets. Schilt, I thought, was phenomenal, but I don't think he's going to jump. It's almost weird when you have a team that's thought to be pretty good and then they exceed expectation. It's hard because the award seems to always go to somebody who was thought to be terrible and ends up making a playoff run, which makes sense. But so that's the way ESPN has it there. The Cy Young, oh boy, this one's going to be something else too. Now over in the American League, it's probably a runaway. where you have Tariq Skubal for the Tigers, Seth Lugo for the Royals, and Emmanuel Clase for the Guardians. ESPN's pick, and I agree, I think this one's about as unanimous as the MVP votes are going to be Tariq Skubal for the Tigers. He was lockdown starter, great pitcher, finally put it all together and was, the most dominant, starting pitcher in the regular season and took the Tigers into the playoffs. So very good run there by Skubal, won the Triple Crown. So he certainly, I think, will walk away with this one. The National League's a little bit tougher. You've got Chris Sale for the Atlanta Braves, kind of a surprise to a lot of people. I know a lot of people weren't necessarily thrilled with that trade in the offseason. I always thought it was going to be great, but you never know with an older pitcher. But it's Paul Skeens with the Pirates, obviously, in there, and Zach Wheeler with the Phillies, who had a wonderful season as well. I don't think Skeens is going to get into this. I think it's good that he was nominated, but I don't think he measures up against either Wheeler or Sale. Now, Skeens did come in about 5-6 weeks into the season, so it's not like he played the entire year. But I think this one, ESPN, I'm going to go with them. They have Chris Sale getting 8 votes to 1 for Wheeler. I do think it'll be just a touch tighter than that, maybe 6-3. But I do think Chris Sale should and will get this award, and then that leads us to the MVP. I will read out the nominees, but again, this is a bit of a fait accompli, I believe. In the American League, you've got Aaron Judge, Bobby Witt Jr., and Juan Soto. Look, Soto was outstanding for the Yankees in his first and perhaps only season wearing the pinstripes, and Bobby Witt has developed himself truly into one of the best players in the game with a good young team. And he, in most seasons, probably would get it. Judge was just on another level. He did have a couple little slumps in the year where it looked like this race might become a race, and then he would just power away. But Judge was dynamic. He was just kind of the way he was in 2022. When he won the MVP. So I believe Judge runs away with this one. And then over on the National League side, Shohei Ohtani for the Dodgers, Frankie Lindor for the Mets, and Ketel Marte for the Diamondbacks. I mean, you've got a guy who didn't pitch, who's essentially a DH, first time in the National League, and all he did is go 50-50. I mean, he's unbelievable. He is now, in my mind, entering that stratosphere of truly the greatest players I have ever seen play. I've often said, and look, I'm about to be 50 years old, so I didn't see DiMaggio play and Mantle play and Guy Mays playing guys like that. But in the time that I've been watching baseball, the 3 best talents I have seen play baseball were Ricky Henderson, in no order, Barry Bonds, and Ken Griffey Jr. And I think Ohtani is every bit in that conversation, and if he can back this up, especially if he comes back and pitches competently next year, he may take over, from any of those 3. He may be at the top of my list. It's absolutely incredible what this guy has done with all the pressure in the world on him. Look what he did this year.
Would he be your pick, say, over the last couple of decades?
It's very possible. I mean, look, Barry Bonds won 7 MVPs, and everybody go, oh, well, steroids. Yeah. He won 3 before there was even any talk of that. He was the best player in baseball before that.
Best cheater.
But, and look, I think Ken Burns' documentary did a good job on this. I think Barry Bonds, who has literally grown up with a giant chip on his shoulder, he'll tell you that. He's not the greatest teammate in the world. He's brash. He is opinionated. But as far as just pure ability, he was unbelievable. And what I think happened was after the 98 season, when he watches McGuire and Sosa lead the American or lead baseball back from, the whole strike and, fans turning away and the excitement on the long ball, and Major League Baseball was clearly turning a blind eye to all these guys hitting monster home runs. And Barry Bonds, I think, said, fine, if this is the way you guys want it, I'll beat you at this too. Now, do I think he took performance-enhancing drugs? Yeah, I do. And I also think he was still better than everybody else. He said, look, this is the way the game is going. I'm not saying it's right, but I think that's exactly what happened. Ken Griffey Jr. is the most natural player I think I ever saw. And Ricky Henderson is just so undervalued. I mean, everybody knows he stole a ton of bases, but I mean, he hit like 57 home runs in the leadoff spot to lead off a game. I mean, he played forever, was an unbelievable player. So those three were always my guys. Shohei is in that conversation, if not right at the forefront of it now, and he's going to win. Lindor had a great season leading the Mets into the playoffs, but Shohei's going to win this one as well. Now, looking at the Hall of Fame, so we've added 14 new names, or excuse me, we have 14 holdovers, and we have 14 new names, so 28 basically that we're really looking at for the Baseball Writers of America. This class of newcomers is headlined by Ichiro, who, by all intents and purposes, should be a unanimous pick. I'm sure some self-righteous idiot's going to vote against him because they've done that every time except for Mariano Rivera, where I think they were guilted into it. And then CC Sabathia, who, you know, I make fun of him a lot for his weight. I think he looked like maybe some of the guys back in the early 19-teens. They looked like guys off their couch playing baseball, but CC was a fantastic pitcher. So I think those guys, Ichiro's going in. CC will most likely go in. Now, the other newcomers that are going to be considered, and I would love to hear if anybody's got any opinions on these. Felix Hernandez, King Felix, is an interesting one. Pitcher for the Mariners out there. And then you've got Carlos Gonzalez, Dustin Pedroia, who won the MVP in 1998, Hanley Ramirez, and then you've also got guys like Fernando Rodney, Ian Kinsler, Ben Zobrist, Troy Tulowitzki, Russell Martin, Brian McCann, Curtis Granderson, Adam Jones. I honestly think Ichiro and CC have a chance of going in the first year. Felix and Pedroia possibly down the line, although I don't think Pedroia will. Felix is an iffy one for me. He had kind of cult status in the game, and he was great in the short time. But I just don't know with this class. Now, for the returning players, Billy Wagner is expected to go in. He was 5 votes shy of getting in this past time. This will be his last year on the ballot. I do think he will get in. We also have guys like A-Rod and Manny Ramirez, who were kind of tainted by the steroid era, and I don't think they're going to go in. The other guys with an excellent chance, just by percentage and by what I think would be Andrew Jones, Braves legend. He got 61% of the vote last year. He would need to bring that up to 75%. And then Carlos Beltran has a shot. He was at 57.1%. He needs to make a pretty big jump, but he has a chance. I don't think A-Rod or Manny have a chance. Then you have other guys like Chase Utley, Omar Vizquel, Jimmy Rollins, Bobby Abreu, Andy Pettit, Mark Burley, Frankie Rodriguez, Torrey Hunter, and David Wright, none of which got over 30%, so I don't know that they're going to be able to make it up. Gary Sheffield, just for those who were wondering, had 63% last year, but he has dropped off the ballot, so he would need to go in via the Veterans Committee when they come up. Now, there are a couple of other names quickly that I want to get to. The Veterans Committee will be taking up the vets who made their significant contributions to the game before 1980 this year. And some of the big names that are being considered are Dick Allen, Dave Parker, Louis Tiant, Tommy John, Steve Garvey, who ran for Senate this year and lost, Ken Boyer, and the Negro Leaguers John Donaldson and Vic Harris. Out of this group, there's names that are worthy. I mean, there's some MVPs in here and all, but I think Tiant has a chance. I'm not sure about any of the others, but as I always say when it comes to the Baseball Hall of Fame, it's the Harold Baines rule, because I don't think Harold Baines should be in. So if Harold Baines should be in, most all of these should be in. And that's all I'm going to say about that. But anyway, good luck to everybody on the awards this week. The Hall of Fame will be voted on in December, and the enshrinement's in July. So we've got a long way to go for that, but I love talking Baseball Hall of Fame. All right, so when we come back, we're going to shift over to the National Football League. We're going to talk about the teams making a run at the Super Bowl. We're going to talk about the teams making a run at the number 1 pick and everything in between. You are listening to the Afternoon Underdogs on ESPN Northwest Florida.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida is your home for the NFL.
Touchdown, Denver!
We bring you the biggest games every Sunday, Monday, and Thursday night.
Oh, he's got the first down!
Plus, we'll broadcast more college football games than ever before.
He did what?
Live NFL and college football play here.
Unbelievable!
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna on ESPN Northwest Florida with your weather forecast on this Monday. Partly cloudy the remainder of the day with a moderate breeze at 13 miles per hour coming out of the southeast and temps near 78. Tonight we will have some clouds and be hot at 70. Raining moderately tomorrow and a high 78. A small chance of rain in the early morning followed by some sun Wednesday with a temp of 76. This forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
PCB Hobby, the beach's premier hobby store for sports cards, comics, coins, and trading card games. PCB Hobby carries the largest selection of boxes and packs from the latest releases of brands like Topps, Panini, Leaf, and more. Looking for a specific player or team? PCB Hobby has a wide assortment of raw and graded cards. They carry parallel rookie, game used, and autographed cards in both modern and vintage. Have a collection you want to sell? We buy, sell, and trade. PCB Hobby on Back Beach Road, just east of Florida Linen. Call 850-320-8388.
Is your restaurant looking a little tired from the long off season? Is your office a little offish? Start the new year off right by giving them a fresh start. Fresh Start Cleaning is now accepting new clients. Ask about their complimentary hood cleaning services. Fresh Start Cleaning. Get clean again with Fresh Start. Call 850-771-6917, 771-6917, and ask about their complimentary hood cleaning services.
They're number one in the men's room.
I hope this place comes with toilet paper.
The Afternoon Underdogs.
Oh, geez, this is going to be a photo finish.
On ESPN Northwest Florida.
BC, did you make that rejoiner?
How did you know?
That's my favorite one we do.
It's going to be a photo finish.
It's very appropriate. It sounds about right. Brian Haddad sitting in for David Hayes here on the Afternoon Underdogs. Oh, my goodness, what an NFL weekend we had. It's not over yet. We've got a battle in Texas tonight, or, what may be a battle. The Cowboys haven't been putting up much of a fight, as most Cowboy haters been calling them the Cowgirls even more this year. But not having the best of seasons, and you get the Texans coming into town. So right now, Texans sitting as a 7-point favorite. The over-under set at 41.5. And that game, of course, will kick at 7:15. So should be an interesting one. But, boy, did we have a weekend of football. I mean, like I said, we had high school on Friday. We're going to get to that at 5:40. In the next segment, we're going to talk about all the developments in college football. But NFL yesterday was something else. We saw some teams kind of making statements. We saw, a few teams that are struggling continue to struggle. But let's get to some of the scores. Of course, on Thursday, Caveman's Philadelphia Eagles took care of the Commanders 26-18 in a divisional battle there. Eagles positioning themselves as one of the favorites in the NFC, but nice win there for the Eagles. Then yesterday, Packers and Bears, nice little NFC North battle, traditional battle, and the Bears, had this one, I thought, most of the game. Jordan Love kind of got a late touchdown there, and then the Bears go down the field. They run the clock down, which, like, a lot of people are questioning that. I don't have an issue with it. You go and you try and set up your field goal kicker to win the game at the death, and sure enough, Packers blocked it. So Packers get by the Bears 20-19 in a big divisional battle. The Bears have, a lot of it's been self-inflicted, but they've been on the wrong end of a lot of close things this year. Of course, with the Hail Mary earlier in the year, and good gracious, but they should have had that one. That's definitely one. I think Eberflus and the guys are like, we let this one get away. How about the Lions? They may be the best team in football. I think they're definitely the best offense in football. Now, granted, they're playing the Jags, so you're going to score points. 52? And here's the thing. The Giants have so many weapons, it's unreal. I mean, you've got Jameson Williams, you've got Amon-Ra St. Brown, You've got Jahmyr Gibbs. You've got Montgomery, David Montgomery. Jared Goff, when he's not throwing 5 interceptions and still winning, just those 4 touchdowns and 400 yards, they're amazing offensively. And a lot of people question the Jahmyr Gibbs draft pick. It's like, why do we go get a running back this high? And wasn't necessarily maybe the top running back, but boy, has he paid off for them. The speed that they have. And Jared Goff has done a wonderful job with this team to the point that if you're going to beat the Lions, and you might be able to beat them, but you're going to have to score some points to do it. I don't think you're holding them to 13 or 17 points. I think you're going to have to get up there in the 30s to do so. So big win for the Lions there. Vikings beat my Titans 23-13 in a game that could cure insomnia. It wasn't very good. The Vikings have put a good record together, but they didn't look sharp, and the Titans looked like the Titans have looked, a team who's going to be battling it out for the top pick. So 23-13. Will Levis did have a very long touchdown pass, but the Vikings are a better team than the Titans. Just kind of a, so-so game. Dolphins get past the Raiders, 34-19. Raiders still trying to figure out what they're doing at quarterback. Tua getting back in the swing of thing, was hitting slant passes. Got Jonnu Smith involved a couple of times. Another team with a lot of speed and a lot of weapons. And, as long as they can keep Tua protected, he throws the slant and the timing routes better than anybody in the game. And you do that with guys who are as fast as Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and Devin Achane and guys like that. It's scary what those guys can do. So Dolphins get another victory here, 2 in a row since Tua's been back, 34-19. The Rams of Los Angeles, still weird to say that for me. I'm still thinking about them as St. Louis Rams, but they get past the Patriots 28-22. I do think Drake May is starting to develop a little. I wish they'd kind of, release the reins on him a little bit, because I do think he improvises a little bit better than I thought he would do, especially being a rookie and not playing every game this year. But I think, the Patriots aren't as bad off as I thought they would be coming into the season. I think of the teams that are kind of in that 2-3 wins range, I think they're one of the better ones, certainly now that May is getting in and getting more, reps. So, but the Rams do get this win here, 28-22. The Saints, they win 2 to start the year. They lose 7 in a row, fire the coach. Now they've won 2 in a row again. It's a crazy one. Now, you can argue that, it's because they changed coaches, and I'm sure that has a big effect. You could argue that maybe their competition hasn't been as good the last couple of weeks, and, certainly over the Browns, I would agree with that. But the fact is, the Saints have put a couple of wins together, and that's good for a team that looked really off the rails a couple of weeks ago. I know the Saints fans are very happy with this, and a nice win, 35-14, over the hapless Browns. Oh, speaking of hapless, Jets, Jets. They had it. They have no one to blame but themselves, but Anthony Richardson led the Colts down the field. Late touchdown drive, ran in a touchdown. I think it was the second of the game, since he's now come back. He looks a lot better. And, a lot of people saying, well, maybe they shouldn't have benched him. No, I think the benching was right. I think that's what kind of got him focused. It gave him a little bit of time to work on some things and got him focused so that when they did go back to him, he's looked a lot better. So they get the victory 28-27 over the Jets, who just can't seem to get it together. This one surprised me. Baltimore Ravens come up short in Pittsburgh. We talked about it earlier with Justin Tucker missing a couple of kicks and has not been himself this year, but I really thought the Ravens were going to say, I thought the Steelers had done a good job taking care of business this year, but I never thought they were a top-level team like I think the Ravens can be. And they came right out. Derrick Henry, I think, it was his first fumble lost in like 550 carries to start the game. And, the Steelers just played good, opportunistic football. And that's what you would expect with a great coach, a veteran coach like Mike Tomlin. He has got them playing well. He's got Russell Wilson doing what Denver had hoped he would do. And, they've got weapons, Najee Harris, George Pickens. They brought in Justin Fields for, little run packages. And they get the win over the Ravens, 18-16, and now take a firmer grip on the AFC North, which I really thought the Ravens would get that one. Boy, Sean Payton's advertising for one of the people for Coach of the Year with what he's done with the Denver Broncos. Obviously, rough team last couple of years. Bo Nix comes in and looks like he's been in the league. Now, Bo Nix is 100 years old, but he looks like he's been in the league. He's a rookie. But Bo Nix doing a great job there. The Broncos are really, again, another team that's playing well. Should have beat the Chiefs. Had the kick blocked, had 35-yard field goal blocked, to try and beat the Chiefs. But they're sitting at, I believe, 5-5. And I guess the question is it Bo Nix or is it Sean Payton? Or is it a little combination of both? But the Broncos look like a totally different football team. Seahawks get past the Niners. I know Ryan was hating that one yesterday, Ryan Mulvey. But the Niners just, they've had so many injuries this year, and they just haven't gotten back in the flow. I still think they're a dangerous team down the stretch. And the West is kind of wide open out there, and this is a team I would not want to see because they do have a lot of talent, but they just can't seem to put it all together right now. And it's a little worrisome. They are sitting at 5-5. Seahawks at 5-5 as well. I don't think the Rams are a whole lot better. So the West is still wide open, but if they can kind of get everybody back and gelling together as a team, I do think they're still a scary team just for their talent. Just haven't played all that well this year, so they take another L. The big one in the afternoon, the Bills get past the Chiefs 30-21. Yeah. Josh Allen looked solid. He looked like, I want the ball. I want, made a huge touchdown run there late to ice it. But, he's done this to him in the regular season. I want to see him do it in the playoffs. They're that one step away, and I think it's going to go through the Chiefs. So the Bills hand the Chiefs their first loss of the year, 30-21. The 72 Dolphins pop the champagne as the last undefeated team is gone, but it remains to be seen. Can Josh Allen replicate this in the playoffs? That would be huge. And then last night, the other guy I think is a strong candidate for Coach of the Year. How about what Jim Harbaugh has done with the Los Angeles Chargers? 34-27 over the Bengals. Chargers, I believe, sitting at 7-3 now. What a turnaround from a team that drafted, I think, 5th. But he's come in, done a good job with Justin Herbert. Everybody was worried when they shipped out all their receivers, but these young guys like Quentin Johnston, Ladd McConkey, guys like that have stepped up their game. J.K. Dobbins has a new lease on life. He's done a wonderful job out there with the Chargers and gets a big win over, again, another team that's talented but struggling, the Bengals, 34-27. And then again, of course, tonight, we've got our big battle of Texas here as the Houston Texans and C.J. Stroud head in to play the Dallas Cowboys and whoever was on their scout team at the beginning of the year, it seems like. Dak Prescott looks like it's going to shut it down for the season. I don't know what they're doing. I don't think they know what they're doing right now. It's a mess in Dallas, and that's a team that, and we'll get to it a little bit in the next segment with like an LSU, where they don't tolerate, losing all that well, and they've done it for a while. And how long is Jerry Jones going to keep Mike McCarthy around? And quite honestly, as much as I love him, he was my college, well, not while I was there, but my college quarterback at Mississippi State. How long is Dak going to be the guy? Because what's he got, one playoff win in all the years that he's been there? I mean, when you're at the Dallas Cowboys, he's the perfect role model for the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. Doing the sponsorships, being a good role model. He's great at that. And it is a different job at the Cowboys than it is anywhere else. You're kind of America's quarterback. Much as nobody wants to hear that, it's a different job. On the field, just hasn't done it. Yeah. The Cowboys need to be about getting to Super Bowls or making deep runs in the playoffs, and they can't seem to get past the first round when they do make it. So I'm very curious to see what the Cowboys decide to do going forward here, whether they try and get in the the sweepstakes here for a new quarterback, or whether or not they decide, Dak is going to be our guy and we'll, try and get another year. You've certainly paid him enough money. It's not going to be that, but I just don't know if the Cowboys are, if Jerry Jones ready to pull the trigger and just kind of do a revamp. I don't know if he wants to do that or if he feels like they're close, but they botched the offseason. They've botched most of the games this year, and now they're so injured, I don't know that they can match up with anybody other than maybe other teams, battling for the top pick. So not a very good year for the Cowboys. Of course, that can all be made right if they do turn it around. And speaking, what a segue. Made right, and I'm going to go to the phone lines and talk to Kyle Wright. What's up, Kyle?
Yeah, what's going on, Coach?
Hey, man, good to hear from you, buddy.
Yeah, man, I know I called right here at the end of the segment, but you got a whole nother one coming up. I figured I got a buddy here. You're doing a great job. But,
thank you.
Man, I've been there, and I know how hard it is to do that show by yourself. So I figured, hey, I'm driving home. Let's give him a call.
I appreciate it. Drinking lots of water tonight for certain. But now, just quickly before we go to break, anything really stand out to you in the NFL this weekend?
A couple of things, honestly. Man, to start, after the just nightmarish week that Jared Goff had last week, and they still got the win. Obviously with Mac Jones, it was the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're not that good this year, but man, it might be time to start taking the Lions a little bit more seriously than we are. They just absolutely, that's an NFL team, man. It was kind of like when the Dolphins hung 70 on the Broncos last year. These are NFL teams, man. They're bad NFL teams, but they're still professional football teams. And for Detroit to pound Jacksonville down like that was insane.
Yeah.
Also, Pittsburgh was able to just absolutely suffocate that Baltimore offense. Didn't have their best game offensively, but at the end of the day, the objective is to score more points than your opponent.
Yep.
And they did just that through the leg of Chris Boswell. And man, the Steelers look good. And the last thing I want to say, don't let the Miami Dolphins get hot, because that's not a team that you want to see in the playoffs if they come in hot.
I think you're right. I absolutely do. They seem to have it clicking the last couple of weeks, and that's a dangerous team if they can sneak in there. But Kyle, we need to get to a break. I appreciate it. Hang on for us here, and we're going to talk some college football on the other side. You are listening to the Afternoon Underdogs here on ESPN Northwest Florida.
Weather in the Panhandle never stops. Turn to 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with your latest forecast.
We're up to the minute weather reports all day long.
A chance of thunderstorms and moderate rain.
In-depth storm coverage.
Hurricane Helene.
And breaking weather as it happens.
We do have a tropical storm warning.
ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Good evening. This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida. For tonight, partly cloudy and a low of 70 with wind 10 to 15 miles per hour out of the southeast. A variety of very light rain and mostly clouds tomorrow morning, a moderate breeze and hot near 78. Raining moderately and 78 in the afternoon and evening. 76 and a small chance of rain in the early morning and then some sun Wednesday. This is your Monday's weather brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for keeping that dial at ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Hey folks, Chris Kramer with Bill Kramer GM. And the best place to listen to the Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey is inside a brand new vehicle from Bill Kramer GM. And I want you to know we've got 10 times the amount of inventory on the ground as we did this time last year, and darn near all of them are discounted. So shop us online at BillKramerGM.com or visit us at the corner of Frankfurt and 23rd. We'll make it easy and take great care of you.
Are you looking to invest in rare coins and precious metals? Well, look no further. Coin and Bullion Reserves is Bay County's trusted source for rare coins and precious metals. Located in the heart of Panama City, our showroom is stocked with a vast selection of gold and silver bullion, rare coins, and currency. Whether you're just starting out or you're a seasoned collector, we have what you're looking for. Our sales staff has over 50 years of experience to help guide you through your purchase. Come and visit Coin and Bullion Reserves today and build your collection with confidence.
WGSX Lynn Haven, WVLQ Port St. Joe. Powered by Panama City Toyota, ESPN Northwest Florida.
Oh, a little jump here on a Monday.
Come on.
I'm too old. My knee'd end up looking like yours, Kyle, if I did a jump right now. But, yeah, I'm telling you. Brian Haddad sitting in for David Hayes today on the Afternoon Underdogs, and we are joined on the phone line by Mr. Kyle Wright. Kyle, before we get into college football here, I want to ask you a question, a little inside question here, but if you know, you know. You going to be buying any jelly beans for the holidays?
Oh, my goodness. No, I think jelly beans might be off the diet permanently after that night. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart, because my in-laws, I was literally just over there, which is why I called so late.
Uh-huh.
But they have a jar full of jelly beans out on the counter, and they're the good ones. And I'm like, no, we're just not going to do that.
For those who don't know, Kyle and Drew did a fun little segment the last week with jelly beans that either could be a very pleasing flavor like banana or peach, or could be wet dog or burnt tire or puke, or and it was interesting watching for sure, buddy.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm going to use that as a cheap plug for everybody. If you want to see us do stuff like that, the show's called Leave It at the Table. You can go follow us on YouTube, or you can just add me on Facebook, Kyle Aaron Wright. That's where we go live every Wednesday night between the two, Facebook and YouTube. And, man, we have a great time. It was just, we're always looking for new challenges to do. And the girl that was on the show with us, Danielle, she brought it up. And, before the show, Brian, we were talking to each other like, hey, if these aren't that bad, we're going to have to sell this and make it, and, just kind of make it look like they are that bad, because we have no backup plan. And as soon as I took that first bite into the stink bug flavor, it was, I was like, okay, this is real. Got it.
I was going to say either it's real or y'all deserve Academy Awards, because that was fun, and definitely check out the show. It's outstanding, and a great watch. I have a great time with it every week. Let's get into some football here, Kyle. So big weekend, obviously. I mean, I had stated earlier, I'm not a huge fan of the playoff rankings being out so early, because it's going to change a billion times. But look, it's great fodder for discussions, and everybody was so up in arms last week, especially Georgia, but you got so many key games in front of you. We know it's going to shuffle, but every week now it's like chaos, and we had a little bit of that here with BYU losing on Saturday. They're a team like Miami, though. They're a team that they had a great beginning, and then they looked like they've been trying to lose for a couple of weeks, and finally happened to them. But they're still in the mix there in the Big 12, but look out who's right there with them, Kyle. Colorado has a chance. I mean, are you ready for a Coach Prime in the playoffs?
As a Florida State fan, and kind of just knowing everything that's happened, it is kind of difficult to say this, but when you look around college football right now, Colorado is kind of playing like maybe one of the top 3 or 4 teams in the nation. Am I wrong?
Close. I mean, they're certainly just clicking on all cylinders for sure, and they can scare anybody.
The defense is still kind of iffy, and that's in the Big 12. But I'm not sure, other than now that Jalen Milrose figured out how to use his legs, Alabama's probably right there above him. I still don't trust Carson Beck, so I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say out loud that they're better than Georgia, but I will say that their offense is better than Georgia.
Well, and here's the key. If they run the table, win the Big 12, they'll jump over Boise, and they'll end up with a bye, and that's huge. Yeah. I mean, so at that point, they're going to be down to one of the final 8, and, you never know after that. But, yeah, it's interesting. We had all kind of written them off, myself included, and here they come. Now, the Big 12 has been wild this year. If you'd have laid me a prop bet at the beginning of the year that Utah and Oklahoma State would be the worst 2 teams in the Big 12, there's no way I'd have taken that. It's just been a crazy year out there.
Yeah, I would have gladly taken your money on that. I'm right there with you. Actually, as a matter of fact, I picked Oklahoma State to win the Big 12. Yeah. I thought, they got like a 48-year-old quarterback coming back. They've got at that point we thought was the best running back in college football coming back.
Right.
Everybody wants Mike Gundy in the playoffs with a little bit of media row action. So I was right there with you, man. I kind of thought. I mean, God, UCF's been a disappointment.
K-State's starting to fall apart. Yeah.
Yeah, right on cue there.
Yeah.
But Arizona State's been a surprise.
Yeah.
Kansas they've knocked off some really good teams. BYU is still hanging around.
Mm-hmm.
The Big 12 is pretty legitimate, man. I wouldn't say legitimate.
Yeah.
But it's definitely had the most parity of any conference.
It's been fun to watch for sure. Over to the ACC, things are starting to kind of take shape, although it's still a little cloudy. Miami didn't play, I don't believe, and then you had SMU, who, Boston College was giving SMU all they wanted. SMU ends up pulling away late, getting the victory there, keeping themselves in pole position, and then Clemson. What a call, get Cade Klubnik, that little quarterback draw late in the game, and he takes it 50 yards to get the win at Pitt. So they're still in play there, but they need a little help from SMU or Miami if Clemson's going to, punch their way in.
Yeah, I'm just going to say this out loud. SMU should be the highest-ranked team in the ACC.
Mm-hmm.
They've got the best they have one of the best resumes in college football, if we're being honest. But SMU, they should definitely be number one in the ACC, rather. They should be ranked over Miami. Miami, obviously, again, as a Florida State fan, it's hard to sit here and give you unbiased opinions on a team like Miami.
Sure.
But, like you said, they've been flirting with disaster all year. If it weren't for a couple of calls, Miami would probably be sitting here today at 6-4, or 7-3 at the best.
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure that I would have Miami where they're at. I understand brand recognition. I understand that money's going to win at the end of the day. That's just kind of what sports is in general, and college football has gotten a lot stronger with that. But SMU should be the highest-ranked team in the ACC, and I don't think Miami's lost their last game. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens in the ACC over these last 2 weeks.
I think what's playing out, unless we have true, just full chaos, which we could for the last couple of weeks, I think it's shaping up to where the ACC is going to get one team. The Big 12 is going to get one team. Notre Dame will probably be in, and then your group of 12, or group of 5, and then you've got either SEC and Big 10 getting 4 each, or one getting 5 and one getting 3. I don't think the Big 10 could get 5, so if that were the case, I think it'd be the SEC. But, let's speak about the group of 5. That's starting to be a little nutty and take some shape. My question got answered for me. I was wondering if Washington State could qualify for that, and then they went and got beat, so I think they're out of the mix. Tulane had a nice victory over Navy. They're still kind of out there on the edges. They need help. Boise's in a bit of control right now, but I'm going to pose it to you, Kyle, that there is one way I think Boise can get usurped from that group of 5 thing, maybe without losing. And if Army runs the table, which would include a win at Notre Dame, and then a win over Navy, and then a conference championship game, I think Army could very well, if they run that, should they jump Boise State?
If they are able to get a win at Notre Dame, then absolutely.
Yeah.
No questions asked, yes, with no doubt.
Yeah.
But, that's still, Northern Illinois did it. Nobody else has been able to come close, right?
Yep.
Notre Dame is pretty solid this year, man. So if Army's able to go in there and get a win, absolutely. Me, myself, I think Tulane's the best G5 team, especially the way they went in and dominated Navy this past weekend. It was just, that's my opinion on that. I love Ashton Jeanty, obviously.
Yeah.
So I do like Boise State, but I think that they're kind of right there in that Miami conversation that we just had. I feel like every week it's just like a slow start. Eventually, you have a slow start, it's going to be hard to get going. Miami had that against Georgia Tech. Miami's had that a few times. Unfortunately, they weren't able to get it going against Georgia Tech, and I think that Boise State's probably going to have that happen eventually.
Yeah, I think Army has the chance. Like I said, that's a huge win they could get to propel themselves up. I think Tulane's sitting too far back, and they're not going to have the opportunity for that super signature win. But that's unfortunate. But I think, I think in that case it'd be Boise. Let's get to the Big Ten. Oregon squeaks one by. I thought Andy Siegel and I talked about this Friday night when we were doing the underdogs, that Wisconsin's a good 2.5, three-quarter team, and that's kind of the way it played out. They had the lead. Ohio State gets them by 3, and then interestingly enough, Wisconsin goes and fires their offensive coordinator, which was a bit of a shock. I mean, they haven't lit up the board this year, but it was just a bit of a shock. But Oregon gets through. Ohio State takes care of business at Wrigley Field over Northwestern. Penn State just dominates a really hapless Purdue team. And then Indiana was off. So Oregon, a little squeaky there, but look, it's coming to Wisconsin in November. I mean, were you a little surprised by how close it was?
I think when you're number one, as you know, you're going to have a target on your back. Everybody's going to give you their best shot. Did I expect Wisconsin to be able to hang around for 4 quarters? No, but I expect everybody to give them their best shot at this point. I do think, Oregon, I'm not sure if they're the best team in college football. I know that they're the most expensive team, probably. But which is crazy that's where we are in college football. But I didn't expect Wisconsin to hang around for 4 quarters, but I was not shocked to see Oregon be able to come away with that. You got to be able to win close games, man. That's you got to be able to survive them upset bids, and that's what great teams do, and that's what they did. So I was happy that they did that. I'm kind of rooting for Oregon. I don't have much of a dog in the fight in college football this year, so I have to kind of find alternate means to be able to enjoy it. So I've been following Oregon, and obviously the big story in the Big Ten we're going to be seeing this weekend. Yep. How good is Indiana?
Yeah, we certainly are. And this is, I want to get through the SEC, and then we're going to get to that because we got some games that could start deciding some things. And then certainly 2 weeks, rivalry weekend, will do that as well. Alabama, easy, play with Mercer, 52-7. A&M wins big. South Carolina gets past Missouri. Last second again. Missouri keeps giving games away. The 2 big games of the weekend in the SEC, Georgia taking care of Tennessee despite starting slow again under Mike Bobo, but then really turned it on. I think put together probably one of their better 3 quarters of football after that start. And then I know it's not going to be your favorite topic here, but the Gators take care of LSU. Lagway not 100%, but I thought he improvised well. I thought he made some good reads, good plays. I don't think this was just a case of LSU collapsing, but boy, Kyle, there's a lot going wrong in Baton Rouge, and if Brian Kelly can't get this turned around, my little hot take before the year may be true that he may not be the coach there next year.
I was just going to give you credit for that. You beat me to the punch, but you called that. I remember we talked about it on that show.
Yeah,
and we talked about it on our show. You didn't think Brian Kelly was going to survive the season, and man, sitting at that loss to USC at the beginning of the year, every week just looks a little bit worse. Really disappointing. Florida, on the other hand, got to give him credit where it's due.
Yeah.
I've been telling Florida fans for a long time, y'all are dumb. You're dumb if you're calling for Napier's head because the dude's a good coach. The dude's a good recruiter, and he's a good football coach. Florida fans will never admit this to you, Brian, but they're regretting firing Dan Mullen, okay?
Oh.
If they keep Dan Mullen around in the NIL era, Florida's probably got at least 1 or 2 more national champions. Florida might be Georgia. It's kind of where I'm going with that. Florida might be in Georgia's shoes if they keep Dan Mullen to the NIL era. They fired coaches way too early. And it's like they were almost in the same situation with Billy Napier. Like, we get the report, right? We all get the notification. They've raised his buyout money. They're going to get rid of him. Then he gets the big win to Mississippi State. Then they get blown out by Texas, but who hasn't at this point, other than Georgia? I mean, what can you do, man? You got to admit it when your opponents are playing good, when your foes are playing good. And Florida, I said at the beginning of the year that if Billy Napier with that schedule can come out with 6 or 7 wins, then he's probably 2 or 3 years away from winning a national championship. And they could very well get a win again this weekend against Ole Miss. Ole Miss is kind of and they're going to beat Florida State. So if they win both of those games, they finish 7-5.
Yeah, it's amazing with the way they looked. But it's interesting, and I want to thank you because I'm pretty sure I'll have phone calls for the rest of the show now based on that take on Mullen, but I love it. Well, let's get to this week's games then, because we've got a couple that really stand out. Number one, you got to look at the Indiana-Ohio State game, and I'm going to pose it to you this way. Look, Indiana's undefeated, but they have one of the weakest so far schedules in the country. Ohio State, on the other hand, they came up 1 point short to number one. They've played okay. They haven't really shown what all that, kind of like Georgia. I don't think they've really shown what everybody expected, but if Ohio State just boat races Indiana, do you think Indiana could fall all the way out of the top 12, or do you think they should hang on in there?
I'm going to give you the conspiracy nut answer. Just so that they can make more room for, teams like Tennessee to stay in the bricks, Georgia, Ole Miss. I think just to make more room for those guys to stay in the mix. If Ohio State blows the doors off of Indiana with their schedule, then they're probably going to drop out of the top 12. Mm-hmm. So, yes, to answer your question in a much shorter fashion, yeah, I think they drop out. Now, if Indiana stays close, or let's say Indiana wins this game, then Indiana might have a case to be number one in the nation. I know Oregon beat Ohio State at home, but winning at Ohio State is kind of a much more impressive win. So I don't think that happens.
Right.
I think Ohio State gets it done at home. But, man, wouldn't it be just great for the sport if Indiana goes in there and gets a win?
You mentioned the Ole Miss at Florida game. So interesting, not just in the game itself, but the fact that, all year we've been talking about would Lane Kiffin be the next coach at Florida, and now, who knows what's going to happen going forward. That's going to be a huge one. Army-Notre Dame, we talked about earlier. That's going to be a big game. It's like 1946 all over again. We're going to be watching Army-Notre Dame. And no, I wasn't alive back then. A couple of games that might get really interesting. Penn State at Minnesota is not a gimme. Penn State looked pretty good against a really bad Purdue this weekend, but I haven't been that impressed by them most of the year. And then Vandy at LSU. Let me tell you right now, if Vanderbilt, and they are a very competent football team this year, if they beat LSU in Baton Rouge, I don't think Kelly, I said he wouldn't be the coach next year. I don't think he finishes the season.
No, I don't think he'll make it to Monday if they lose to Vandy at home. Kind of back-to-back weeks. They got blown out by Alabama, didn't even put up a fight against Alabama, and then go to Florida, and really the score was close, but the game was Florida dominated that game. Yeah. So, if they lose to Vandy at home, Brian, I think you're probably right.
Yeah. One more game here that's going to be interesting that I didn't think so coming into the year, but watch out for this one. Colorado at Kansas. If they're going to trip up, this is the one, because Kansas coming off a big win over BYU. They're at home. Jalen Daniels, not Jaden Daniels, but Jalen Daniels, very exciting and dynamic quarterback. A little inconsistent, but he's the kind of guy that could cause Colorado fits, and if they're just a little bit off, they could come away with an L this weekend.
I believe Kansas has knocked off 2 top 25 teams this year already, and they're going to be hyped at home for this one. So do I think it could happen? Absolutely. Do I think it will? I don't think so, man. Travis Hunter has pretty much clinched the Heisman at this point, and that team's just got so much spunk, and it does pain me to say it, man, but maybe Florida State should have hired Dion.
Yeah. Well, Kyle, I appreciate you calling in, buddy. I got the PCB Hobby Takeover coming up next, but thanks again, and make sure and check out Kyle and Drew and the Leave It at the Table there on YouTube. It's an excellent, excellent watch. Thanks, buddy.
Yeet. Yeet.
Yeet. With that, we're heading to a break. You're listening to the Afternoon Underdogs on ESPN Northwest Florida.
Pound the like and crush the subscribe. Follow us on social media for the latest sports news, scores, and updates. Keeping you in the game. Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs, ESPN Northwest Florida.
welcome back to the Afternoon Underdogs. Brian Haddad sitting in for David Hayes here on a Monday. And with it being Monday, that means it's time for the PCB Hobby Takeover. Today with just the Captain Todd himself. Todd, happy Monday.
Happy Monday. What's going on, everybody? How are we doing today? Hopefully good. Today is an outstanding day. It's beautiful outside. And if you've been watching the weather, it's going to get cold. It's going to get cold.
Yeah, a lot of colors on that map coming through here tomorrow, it looks
No doubt. Anyways, things are going pretty good. We've been really busy. We've hired several new people, and so it's really good. Shout out to our new comics guy. He's our new comics manager. His name is Trey. And then a new streamer for TCGs, and we're pretty excited about him. His name's Justin. He should be here this Friday. So we got a lot going on. Still looking for a coin streamer. So if anybody out there has aspirations of being in the coin world and streaming online live auctions, hit us up, go into the store.
Well, there's like 6 hours left in the day, so you got to have another one,
right? Exactly. So we still need more help, but we're excited and we're filling those positions and things are going good. So come check us out if you haven't been to the store lately. We got lots of new inventory and lots of new stuff going on. I'm going to let Brian talk about any new products that have come out.
Yeah, so sports is still being dominated by Topps Chrome Update Baseball, and it was a huge hit for us. Last week. It's still we still have, some, but don't wait too long because the jumbos went pretty quick. We still have hobby. We still have megas. But obviously everyone's chasing the debut patches. And so with these bigger cards like that, and we've talked about the debut patches, but what we haven't talked a whole lot about are the bounties.
Right.
And so, a lot of times they're just a numerical figure, but the Pittsburgh Pirates, and I think this is genius PR for them. They've actually entered the fray, and so for the Paul Skeens 1-of-1 MLB debut patch, which has not been hit yet, they have an offer out for 30 years of behind home plate season tickets, all kinds of other little, like couple signed jerseys, get to attend the, preseason, like the spring training stuff, get the VIP package, all this stuff. Obviously, living in Pittsburgh would be better for that, but 30 years of season tickets.
Wow.
It was pretty cool. And then Livy Dunn, Paul Skeen's girlfriend, who of course has like 80 million followers or whatever it is. She's one of the biggest influencers on social media. She has offered up as well you can watch one game in the suite with her.
Oh, wow.
So that would, certainly if a younger guy hits that would be quite a thing.
Wow, that's amazing.
To show off. So, doubt it would get done for that. Somebody's probably going to cash in because that card could fetch near $1 million.
Sure, yeah.
But great PR for the Pirates and an interesting scenario if you do hit it. A couple have been hit, but none of the major ones yet. Colton Cowser, Colt Keith have been hit, but Skeen's still out there. Ellie De La Cruz is still out there. Wyatt Langford's still out there. Jackson Holliday's still out there. So
that means you got to get to the shop now.
You better hurry before we run out.
Yeah. Isn't Bowman University coming out soon?
Bowman U is coming out next Wednesday. This Wednesday is a little bit lighter. You have a couple of little things coming. You'll start to have some football, coming like Mosaic and stuff in a week or two. But next Wednesday, Bowman Chrome U football will be dropping. Of course, that's the college football product that's been so hot, and it's going to be coming out. Mosaic football, which we're also on the line for, should be coming out next Wednesday. Panini's a little weird with their releases sometimes, but next week's going to be a big week for sure. But in addition to the Chrome Update, we actually have the Topps Holiday Baseball Megas, which are a lot of fun, especially if you're trying to get in at a lower price point. They're $40. It's like 60 some odd cards. They've got, the snow, and they've got variations with the candy cane bat and the Santa hat. They're a fun set, and there are chances at autographs and relics in those as well.
Oh, very nice.
But it's a real fun product, holiday themed. Obviously, it'll be great. So a lot going on in the sports world. Next week, going to be a very big one for sports releases with that, and just perfect time because it'll feed right in to Black Friday and everybody getting Christmas presents.
And we are doing some specials on Black Friday. We're going to do a lot of special stuff at the shop on Black Friday. So you guys need to check us out. I think we might be doing it all weekend. I don't know if it's just on Black Friday. But Julia is not here today to give us the rundown. But of course, we have our nightly plays this week, as we always do. I don't think there's any specific tournaments. There might be some releases.
Yeah, I think the Lorcana is usually Thursday.
Yeah, it's Thursday.
I know they have a new product out.
They do, yeah. So that's going to be the first time you're going to get to play with that and break that. So that's pretty exciting. So we got a lot of stuff going on like that. We've had a lot of good success on the streams lately with different collections that we bought and different things, specifically on the comics and the coins. We just got back from Baltimore.
That's what I wanted to ask you about.
Yeah, and so we just got back Sunday from the Baltimore Coin Show, and we have a ton of new inventory. So if you watch our eBay Lives for coins, we have a ton of new inventory we're releasing into the wild. So that's pretty exciting. But other than that, we got a lot rocking with our new manager, comics manager. That's pretty cool. He's getting some stuff organized, and we're going to start probably rotating some stuff out at the shop.
Nice.
I'm going to see some more value boxes at the shop, which will be kind of cool. So if you're into the lower end comics, kind of value $2 type items, you can just sit there and pick, kind of like the sports cards in the center, where you can just pick dollar cards and $2 cards and stuff like that. So we're going to do some really good stuff on Black Friday. Well, first of all, on Thanksgiving, Sharon and I are going to stream on comics. So that's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to start off probably around 11ish, in the morning. So if you got nothing better to do than watch a comic stream, pop on there while you're trying to ignore Uncle Harry and see if you can't snap up some deals from us. And then, of course, Black Friday, we are absolutely 100%. Bill and myself and Big Kern are going to be running and doing slab blowout. So it's going to be awesome. That's slabbed comics. In other words, graded comics, hardened cased comics. So we're really excited about that. Also, we have a couple really cool things coming up. This Friday, we actually have an artist coming to the building. His name is Dave Dorman. And it may not ring a bell, but any of you guys who are into magic or anything that Hasbro did within the last 20 years, go type in Dave Dorman Hasbro in your search. He did a ton of magic cards, the art for the magic cards. He's coming. He's a comic book artist as well, so we're going to have him on stream this Friday night with Big Kern, and we are going to be rocking it. He's going to be able to sign books. He's going to be able to do sketches. He's going to be able to do all kinds of really cool stuff, and all that stuff can be submitted to CGC for grading. So we're super excited about that. We're going to have a lot of fun with Dave, and then the next day we're going to have him at the shop hanging out and meeting people and stuff like that. So it'll be really cool.
Very cool. Now, you'd mentioned the Baltimore Coin Show and all like that. Obviously, so much of what we've talked about over the last year has been silver and gold, but I'm curious as it relates to coins. Obviously, the older stuff is just, it's kind of like vintage sports cards. They're there, and there's no great time or year. But we talk about in sports cards, obviously, new stuff comes out, and, it's hot out of the gate. With coins, is there anything similar to that, like when they release a new set of...
100%.
Okay.
So are you ready for this? So they just released the new flowing hair gold.
Okay.
And it's a commemorative that the U.S. government did, the U.S. Mint, and it was a gold piece, and they are going astronomical prices. Astronomical. I mean, $4,000 and $5,000 a piece, and they're very limited run. People were clamoring for them, and they got sold out within minutes. I mean, it was just crazy time. So yes, there's stuff that happens all the time in the coin market like that.
Like when new Morgans come out.
Yeah, like the new Morgan design. When it comes out, things like that, it's very hot and people snap that stuff up. So the resale market's really great on that stuff.
I'm going to ask you to venture outside of your comfort zone maybe here for a little bit.
I like it.
We've talked on a previous show about the importance of the state quarters in bringing a new generation into coins, and it was a genius move. The reason I ask this is because I run into people occasionally, and you may or may not know, I'm curious, is there something, or why hasn't stamps done something similar? Because it seems to be suffering from what coins was worried about.
That's an interesting conversation. I think the biggest problem is because they made too many.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think there are so many stamps out there that were made and so many variations that it's like It's like trying
It's
to
overwhelming.
It's just really, it's an overwhelming project. And the problem is most of them got used. And so how do you look at a stamp and go, well, it was used, it was peeled off correctly, and stuff like that. But in the end, it was used, or it has never been used. And how rare is a never been used, 1 cent stamp with a plane on it upside down or some error, there. So I get it. Yep. I mean, I get how there was collectors for that, but in the end, I don't think I think it was too hard for people to really collect stamps because there are just so many different variations.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting.
I guess it's much more interesting finding dates of coins than it is finding the different variations of all different stamps.
So speaking about coins, if I were at home listening to this, what I would be thinking is, how likely is it that if I go through my change jar or something, let's say I got a big tub of change and all like this, how likely is it there's a rare coin in there, and how do I go about finding that out?
Very unlikely. Okay. So obviously you can go on the internet and you can find all kinds of articles and things and people and people putting out there on eBay and various places that this coin is a strike through error, or this one is a three-legged this or that. I always look at it this way. If the Red Book, which is kind of like the Bible to coins, if the Red Book has an error notated in that book, then it's truly an error.
Okay.
If you find a one of a kind, where there's a die chip on it or something, that's just tough. That's like a 101 in baseball cards now.
Yeah.
There's a million 101s now. There's a million one-on-ones.
That's true.
And so are one-on-ones really rare? Well, kind of, but not
that
really.
Single one is.
That single one.
But there may be 8 variations of it. You're right.
Yeah. And they're all one-on-ones. I mean, so it's one of those things where, but to be fair, I'll tell everybody out there, to be very fair, I am not an error guy. I do not like errors. I think errors are ridiculous. Again, unless what I call the Bible of coins says it's an error, then I'm interested in it.
What is the likelihood, and I'm just going to throw a date out, it might be a key date, I don't mean to because I don't know. What is the likelihood that just in change you come across in a week, you'll have a coin from the 1930s or...
Probably very...
What would be an old coin that
1930s would be great.
Okay.
Right? And you would come across what we would call like a wheat penny, maybe 1958 and below. Might come across a silver dime, 1964 and below. Something like that here and there. You'll find lots of 40s, 50s, and 60s nickels.
Do they try and retire those out of circulation?
They do.
Okay.
They do. They actually do. Once they go to the big services and they get turned into a bank and then they go to a big service that deals with coinage, they'll usually vet all that stuff out and weed it out of the system. And they get remelted back down and reused and stuff like that.
So obviously, we talked a little bit earlier. We're heading into, Black Friday and Christmas shopping and all like this. And one of the things, and I never forget, a guy who, when I worked in the business back in the late 80s, early 90s, we talked about this.
Oh, yeah.
Very similar story, although I didn't own my own shop.
That's true.
But I remember the boss man back then talked about how much fun it was to do boxes and packs for Christmas because it's like you're already unwrapping a present and then you get to unwrap more. And I know you told the story about you and your brother doing the Donruss box and hitting the...
I hit the Ryan Sandberg.
That's right. So, I mean, just talk about that. Just like singles are great and they make great presents too because that's something maybe targeted you want, but just... maybe look at just like we said, the holiday megas or something like that, maybe a stocking stuffer, things
100%.
like that. Because it's more stuff you get to open.
Right, yeah. And that's the cool thing about that. You can buy somebody a coin. You can buy somebody a single baseball card or football card or whatnot. But in the end, if you really think about it, opening those packs is such a rush. People love that. Kids love that. Adults love it. It's a form of gambling almost in a way, and not in a bad way.
Yeah.
Just, you don't know what you're going to get.
You don't know what you're going to get.
Right. And you could get something really cool and really awesome. So it is so awesome, and what an adrenaline rush on that morning of Christmas when you sit there and you open your stocking or you open your one of your presents and it's packs that you then get to go open and see who you got and all that. And what an amazing, fun thing and such a good memory for me. Such a good memory.
Yeah, and it's so much fun too because, look, this isn't new, but so many things for Christmas, you kind of have a sense you know, that you might end up with. Maybe a little disappointed here and there, but you have a sense, but always having that one or two things that you don't know. And you hope it doesn't end up being socks. Sorry for those of you who like getting socks.
Or shirts.
Exactly. But that was always fun because that's like the true mystery. And like you said with PAX, it kind of serves that role as well.
So good. So much fun. So you really do need to get down to the shop and buy some stuff like that over Black Friday. There's going to be heck of
great
good
deals going on.
Yeah.
Great opportunity to get it at a discount, which would be great. With so many new products coming out, that's what's so huge.
Absolutely.
You're not getting things necessarily that are
And of course, we're going to put this all out on our socials. You know, we're on all the social platforms at PCB Hobby, and we'll be talking about all the different deals and different stuff that we got going on the streams as well. So, and again, we will be having other streams, you know, going on during the Black Friday sales and stuff like that. So you can check out some deals. We'll probably blow some stuff out pretty cheap for fun, just to kind of get you in the Christmas holiday spirit.
And just to remind our listeners, obviously all the streams on Black Friday and the weekend, but remember, comic books got a great show with Todd and Sharon on Thursday. So when everybody's tryptophaned out and you've had your little political argument at the table and everybody's ready to kill each other, go out back on the porch, throw on eBay Live and check out the Captain and the Captain and Sharon. Will be doing a comic book stream, and it's going to be a blast. I mean, what better to do? Like I said, everybody's going to be sick of their family at some point on Thursday.
Oh, yeah, we know that.
What a great opportunity to go on.
No doubt. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Anything else?
That's it. That's all we got. Like I said, check out the shop. You guys know we're at 11939 Panama City Beach Parkway in Panama City Beach. And keep in mind, the traffic is a little horrendous back there because they're doing road work. But you can get in our center, so we're good to go there. And check out our deals. Again, we got coins, sports cards, TCGs, Pokemon Magic, Lorcana. We got nightly play, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And, of course, we have comic books on the wall as well.
Yep.
So check us out. If you haven't been there in a while, come down and say hey.
Open 7 days a week. Thank you, Todd. Appreciate it. Glad everything went well. And looking forward to the holidays.
Appreciate it.
All right. That's your PCB Hobby Takeover with Captain Todd here on a Monday. When we come back, we're going to get around local sports news. A lot of football to talk about. But we actually have a state champion in the listening area. Who is it? You'll find out next. You're listening to the Afternoon Underdogs here on ESPN Northwest Florida.
Mornings on ESPN Northwest Florida just got unsportsmanlike.
The issues that we're talking about are cultural with the Dallas Cowboys. And it starts with the head man, Jerry Jones. As they say, a fish rots from the head down. Jason Garrett couldn't overcome it. Bill Parcells couldn't overcome it. Wade Phillips couldn't overcome it. Right. You have all of these coaches who have done well in the NFL at other places can't overcome what Jerry Jones has put in place and set in motion.
Evan Canty and Michelle. Weekdays 5 to 7 on ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good evening. This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida. For tonight, partly cloudy and a low of 70 with wind 10 to 15 miles per hour out of the southeast. A variety of very light rain and mostly clouds tomorrow morning, a moderate breeze and hot near 78. Raining moderately and 78 in the afternoon and evening. 76 and a small chance of rain in the early morning and then some sun Wednesday. This is your Monday's weather brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for keeping that dial at ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
PCB Hobby, the beach's premier hobby store for sports cards, comics, coins, and trading card games. PCB Hobby carries the largest selection of boxes and packs from the latest releases of brands like Topps, Panini, Leaf, and more. Looking for a specific player or team? PCB Hobby has a wide assortment of raw and graded cards. They carry parallel rookie, game used, and autographed cards in both modern and vintage. Have a collection you want to sell? We buy, sell, and trade. PCB Hobby on Back Beach Road, just east of Florida Linen. Call 850-320-8388.
Reliable Copy Products is proud to be the exclusive dealer in Northwest Florida for Kyocera office equipment. Reliable Copy Products has been committed to providing professional, personalized service for the last 35 years. They understand that the right equipment does not always fall within today's budget requirements, so they offer several options for the equipment you need today for the growth you expect tomorrow. Call James Smothers at 784-6601. 784-6601. Reliable Copy Products on Harrison Avenue, just north of Bay High School.
It's the Season of New Traditions sales event going on now at Bill Bird Kia. Now offering 1.9% APR for up to 60 months of the purchase of a new 2025 Kia Sorento or a new 2025 Kia Sportage. Take your next holiday adventure in a brand new Kia from Bill Bird Kia. You'll get the perfect balance of comfort, safety, and technology. Bill Bird Kia is the home of the 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty. Stop by and see us at 2435 East 15th Street or anytime at BillBirdKia.PanamaCity.com.
Offer from Kia Finance America for the purchase of a new 2025 Kia Sorento or new 2025 Kia Sportage with $1,748 per month per $1,000 financed in 60 months. Quantity is limited, not to be combined with other finance offers and not available on balloon financing. The 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty is the Bill Bird Kia warranty. See dealer for complete details. Offer for well-qualified buyers. Must take delivery from dealer stock through 1/2/25.
Ellis Agency Insurance has been serving Panama City and Bay County for years. They offer a full line of affordable insurance coverage of all types. Many people are attracted to Ellis Agency Insurance because of their friendly, knowledgeable staff. Call independent agent Johnny Ellis for a true comparison of your personal or business insurance. Ellis Agency Insurance at the Old Cullen Insurance location, 1134 Harrison Avenue, across from Dandy Donuts and Deli. Call 763-1627.
Hot takes, the latest trades, in-depth interviews.
That is my reaction.
We break it down for you right here.
Very big springboard for the rest of my career.
The Afternoon Underdogs.
That's the problem right there.
4.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
And welcome back into the Afternoon Underdogs. Brian Haddad sitting in for David Hayes. Reminder that ESPN Northwest Florida is your home for Auburn Tiger basketball and football, NFL, Mosley Dolphins, Orlando Magic. Got all kind of college football games here. And don't forget, listen in on at 7 a.m. every weekday to the Coach James Hale Show. And then at 11, Ryan will be live with the Inside Drive. And then, of course, the Afternoon Underdogs every afternoon at 4 p.m. Well, let's get into some local. Before I do, though, we actually have some breaking news. The National League Rookie of the Year has been announced. And not surprising, Paul Skeens has claimed the National League Rookie of the Year award. He claimed 23 of the 30 first-place votes. Jackson Merrill finished second with the other 7 first-place votes, and then 20-year-old Jackson Churio from the Brewers ended up in third. So congratulations to Skeens on the Rookie of the Year award for the National League. Have not seen anything on the American League just yet, but if that comes in before the end of the show, I will let you know. And want to get one thing out quickly before we get into some other stuff here and get to the phone lines here. But the South Walton Lady Seahawks, their girls golf team, took the state championship by one shot over the weekend. So we do have a state champion in the listening area. So congratulations, their first state championship in ladies golf. So congratulations to the Lady Seahawks. Well, let's get to the phone lines here. And I think I know who's on the line, but I'll let him tell us himself. How are we doing today, caller?
Go Blue Truck Series, we're going to put back to though. I'll tell you, whoever the ESPN mouthpiece that said Josh Allen is the best quarterback in the NFL, have they watched anything? What a moron. And I'm getting so sick of these third-string former players that don't know crap, that they're studying the experts. And Dan Orlovsky, let's go out of the back of the end zone. Well, now Jared Goff may be in the MVP discussion. Shut the heck up, Orlovsky. Go back to UConn. You know what I'm saying? We'll bite your kneecap.
You know what
I
appreciate about you, Eddie, is how I have to get you amped up. You don't just come in hot.
No, I just wait in the doctor's office for 2 hours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then I'm going through myself to pass the time, and I'm seeing these morons.
Yeah.
And that's what they are. They're a bunch of morons. It's like, dude, they're washed up second string players, and all of a sudden they're experts. Give me a break, man. But you know what's good about this weekend, though? Air Force won, and I didn't have to see Michigan play.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, and the Pistons are undefeated in the Airman's Cup, NBA Cup, whatever they call it.
I mean, Detroit's turning into, who would have thought the Red Wings might be the the team that struggles the most, and they're not bad, but with what the Tigers did, what the Lions are doing is insane, and the Pistons are turning it on. Let me ask you real quick. I think we all agree Scooball's going to win the Cy Young, probably unanimously. But the Manager of the Year award is going to be interesting there, and that Quatraro and Hinch, I think, are 50-50 for this with taking the Royals and the Tigers going forward. I'm guessing you have a favorite in this race.
I do, but I also who's the Mets manager?
Well, yeah, over in the National League, Mendoza, he's got a very good shot as well.
Yeah, but they do it. They don't do it overall. They just do it by league, right?
Correct.
American
Correct.
and National. Yeah, I think you gotta give it to Hinch. What he did with one starter and then a battery of pitchers to be the second, third, fourth, fifth starter.
Yeah.
And he had, the payroll he had, was the lowest out of all the teams, and the youth that's on that team. How can you not give it to AJ Hinch?
Yeah.
You can't say, he cheated this time, so you can blow that crap out of your ears, too.
I think Quatraro being at the Royals, I think they were pretty much universally thought to be one of the 2 or 3 worst teams in the league, and then they made a great run this year, too. So I at least get it, but I'd probably lean Hinch, but it'd be tight for me.
Yeah, I mean, they're both deserving.
Yeah.
There is no doubt because KC and Detroit have been the doormats for so long. Cleveland's run that division for whatever, and Cleveland's now becoming quite a sports town. Look at what the Cavs are doing. The Browns still stink, but it is what it is. They don't have a hockey team to stink up the joint, so that's all right. Mistake by the lake. But it's awesome to be. My buddy used to be a sportscaster down here, talk radio down here, and now he does Tigers post-game, Lions post-game, Pistons post-game, all that stuff up there. And I told him Detroit's the best sports city in the world. You just wait, and he would laugh at me.
Yeah,
because he went to Florida. He's from New York, but he grew up in Florida and all that stuff, and now he's seeing it. I mean, you got to go up there and see it. And people hate on Detroit and see all the dilapidated buildings and all, but it really is a wonderful city if you give it a chance. And it's one of the best. What did Jim Leland say? The best sports baseball cities are St. Louis and Detroit.
Yeah,
and he's right. And look at the Lions. I mean, here's something. When the Lions are traveling to Houston last week, right? Mm-hmm. And Houston has to go to the silent count because our fans, the visiting fans, are making it so hard for the home team to hear in their own arena, in their own stadium. I
thought it was so fun last year how kind of the rest of the country, other than San Francisco, adopted the Lions. And I think, it's such a long-suffering franchise, and they're right there. And what they're doing offensively, Eddie, is amazing. And it's nice that they found other ways to win, but I think back, and I don't know where you were on this debate a couple years ago, but I remember them catching a lot of flack for taking Jahmyr Gibbs where they did. And boy, that's looking like, a prophetic move because they've got so many weapons on the field offensively and so much speed.
Well, they took a lot of flack on Jahmyr Gibbs. They took a lot of flack on J-Mo. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. You got the Alabama trio. You got BB, who's just knocking everybody out.
Yeah,
he's laying
he's
laying the hammer, bro. Laying the hammer. Then you got J-Mo, he's just fast. Jahmyr Gibbs, it's Sonic and Knuckles. J-Mo and Gibbs, the best 1-2 tandem. And they're 1A and 1A. You know what I mean? I mean, they're just awesome. You know what I'm saying? I mean, golly, dude. Now I know everyone wants to go to Alabama. Look what they produce.
Yeah.
And they're great. They're great character guys out the field, with the exception of one dude that I'm not going to mention because that's a tragic story what happened out in Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
But he's an anomaly. He's an outlier for you stats nerds out there, going back to your stats days. But I'm just, but it's just great, man. I mean, we waited so long. Like before last year, bro, I had only seen one Lions playoff victory, and that was when we beat the Cowboys in the Dome, and Steve Berline was the Cowboys.
Wow.
So now I've seen 3 in my lifetime now, 3 Lions playoff wins. And it's just awesome.
Obviously, I know who you're picking to come out of the NFC, but who do you like if you had to take a guess right now, who do you like coming out of the AFC to play the Lions as you'd like to have it?
Okay. Honestly, I want it to be the Lions versus Cleveland so we can beat the crap out of a team from Ohio. So I can't stand that mistake by the lake. But that's not going to happen. They still stink, you know. But honestly, if I had to pick, I don't have no faith in Lamar Jackson. Sorry.
Yeah.
What's he done in the postseason? I mean, that's great. He's a great regular season quarterback, but what's he done? You know what I mean? The whole body of work, right? I think it's going to be, and it's going to have a Detroit plot to it. You know what team I'm guessing? It has a Detroit plot. You know what team I'm guessing?
I don't.
Okay. Who used to... Okay, the owner used to be from Grosse Pointe, Michigan, or the Detroit area.
I don't know.
Long time owner of this franchise.
We're talking about the Bills or the Chiefs?
The Bills.
Yeah, okay.
Ralph Wilson.
Yeah. Yeah, because the Hunts have been in Kansas City forever, so yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And all you got to do is go from Buffalo to Detroit, take the 401 or 402 across Ontario way, and then you're good to go, man. You know what I'm saying? I mean, well, granted, it's going to be, where's the Super Bowl this year? It's going to be in New Orleans, right?
Yeah, I believe. Yeah, New Orleans.
Yeah, New Orleans. But, I mean, Buffalo and Detroit help each other out. Like, a couple years ago, they had the snowstorm where they played their game, Ford Field.
Look,
Buffalo is an awesome football town, man. They deserve just as much as we do. Just to see them two in it, with two great quarterbacks, two great fan bases, you know, two communities that need it. They've been through so much, both whether you want to go politically or emotionally and all that. You know, that would be. That Super Bowl would blow the ratings out of the water.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was like when the Cubs and the Indians were playing, and it was just like, which long-suffering fan base was actually going to get the win here? And, you know, Cubbies pulled it out. Really quickly, the Super Bowl, obviously insanely expensive. It's a corporate event now. It's not for fans. But if the Lions found a way, given that it's in New Orleans, you're going to try and find a way to go?
I think Deanna and I, if I'm done with my surgery and all that, because I got to go to Houston again in January, blah, blah, blah. I think it's in February, though, so it should be good. But Eddie's got football and baseball, whatever, so notwithstanding. I think we'll at least probably go to the parties there.
Yeah.
And get sucked that up. But you never know. Who got tickets to the Natty and see Michigan beat UW?
That's right.
Michigan Eddie. If anybody can do it, the Lord blesses Michigan Eddie and family, and he'll find a way for us, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, hey, gotta be in the good Lord's good tidings, and we'll see how it works. But I got a question for you there, kind sir.
All right.
I know I texted you this. So, Panini's coming out tomorrow with a drop of that Mosaic.
Yes.
First off the line.
Yes.
Is that worth going after if I get it at the right
The hard
price?
part, so first off the line is they have a few extra low-numbered things, so it's more desirable even than the hobby boxes. The hard part is the big breakers will buy it out at a pretty expensive price and kind of corner the market, and because they do it in a reverse auction format, it's hard to know when it's going to be available, like you're trying to anticipate the bottom. And so it's a neat product. It's difficult to get on that drop unless you're willing to overpay, but it certainly has a lot of good hits in it.
Yeah. I'm going to take a look at that tomorrow because I made the drop for the Fanatics for the Topps Chrome update. So I got the jumbo and the hobby.
Very good.
So, we'll see how it goes, you know, and
all right, man. Well, let me let you run here. I got to get into a quick little run of football local, but give us your outro here.
All right, go right there. Go Rexy, we're biting kneecaps. And you know what? If you don't want us to kick your butt, then play football better. Carlton Davis, by the way, said that. See ya, I'm out.
I just wish he had energy, you know? I mean, that's awesome. I love that. That wasn't me, Eddie. Real quick, want to get through this. Swim and dive. North Bay Haven was involved in the 1A on Friday. Arnold was involved in the 2A on Saturday. Coach Dana, we talked to her on the Coach James Hale show. 4 boy divers in the top 11 in the state, including 3rd and 4th place. Congratulations to those gentlemen. Outstanding. I don't think we've ever taken that many. We had 4 in the top 11. So very cool there for the Arnold Divers. Football, obviously, it didn't end up panning out like we wanted. We complained a little about the seedings, but ultimately you got to lace them up. And a lot of our teams went down. Mosley dropped a nail biter to Fleming Island, 35-28. You had Arnold losing to Choctaw, 49-0. Rains got past Bay, 53-14. Wakulla did get a win. They beat Menendez, 28-14. Now they get to go play Rains, who is undefeated. FSU High beat Mariana. But the big win is Walton County gets past Pensacola Catholic. Congratulations to them and to Bluntstown, who will be moving on. We'll have to cover this more as the week goes on. Thank you, everybody. I would give you David's out, but I'll just stick with mine. The Titans, they stink.
ESPN Northwest Florida presents the most college basketball.
3-pointer, push him in. College basketball is back.
The Panhandle's destination for live play-by-play.
The SEC, ACC, and beyond.